The worst thing living in Paris is the French attitude, the Parisian attitude, excuse me. That's the worst because their arrogance kind of seep out. Parisians, if you don't like you have to know what you want and how nobody's gonna really smile up to you, and they're very direct. The best is, I would say, the tradition, the culture, the architecture, like the beauty of Paris. It's embarrassing to say I do feel a little bit more comfortable outside of America when it comes to the racial issues and stuff like that. So for example, in America, it's in your face. Like, they're not gonna shy away and tell you they hate you because of the color of your skin. If someone wants to move to Paris right now, I would say, like the Nike logo, just do it. It is really not scary. People will help you here. They're not mean.
Today, we are joined by a New Yorker who has explored the world from the overcrowded city streets to remote villages, from the Americas to Europe, and from traveling as a visitor to living as an expat. An avid traveler and podcaster whose journeys span over 50 countries and multiple continents. From exploring local cultures and living around the world on temporary military assignments to immersing himself in daily life, first in Luxembourg and now in Paris on a more permanent way, and more recently became co-host of the Rhythm and Rome podcast, where they share stories of travel, culture, and identity while breaking common misconceptions about life abroad. Today on Expat Expert, Paul Island. Let's start. Paul, welcome to Expat Experts. I'm really, really happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I'm happy to have people who are well prepared. They have their own podcast equipment. I always love interviewing people who has podcasts their own because you know that they have the correct lighting, the correct audio, and so on.
I wanted to make sure my lighting was really, really good. So,
oh, good. I love it. At least you take that pressure off, like the sound will not be good and so on.
It's all good, Marc.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Maybe we start from the beginning of the story. I know that you're originally from New York City, but you're currently living in Paris. What brought you to Paris in the first time?
So I'm going to try and see, and you please stop me whenever, because I have like a weird, how I got to where I'm at to as well. So as you said, I'm from New York by way of, my family is from Jamaica, and I'm living now in Paris, France. However, before Paris, France, I was an officer in the military. So that really kind of started, my travel excitement or my excitement for travel. I've lived a lot of places all over the world due to my time as an officer in the military. And then, I spent majority of my adult life in Europe, living in Europe, where I lived in Germany, Italy, Luxembourg City and Paris, France, Prague, Austria, a lot of places and UK. And I decided to move back by the help of my corporate company that, there was a position that was being out there, and, I decided to apply for it internally from the job that I was working at in New York City. And then, they liked my application, and my boss at the time literally was like, hey, look, majority of the people are here in Europe, and I would like to see if you would be interested in moving to Luxembourg City. So at the time COVID was happening, and I was like, not only like, yes, but hell yes. And I didn't think twice about it. I thought it was a sign, and I literally packed all my stuff up, and then I just hopped on, and the rest is history. And then from Luxembourg City, I got another position offer with my company. And the funny part was I wanted to stay in Luxembourg City, but they were like, hey, look, this new position, if you do accept it, you have to move to either, Athens, Greece, or Paris, France. I mean, like, who wouldn't want?
I lived 3 years in Athens, so I would probably choose Athens.
I was going to, and then I said to myself, I was like, which one would feel more kind of like New York City vibe? And I know Athens would be more
That's
vacation.
not Athens.
See, and that's the reason why I said, okay, I'm gonna do Paris because it's closer to all the other places in Europe. And yeah, 5.5 years later, I'm still here because I'm still enjoying my time.
Cool. In these whole moves, especially the suppose the military ones are more like
Yep.
temporary ones. They give you like contracts for a certain amount of years, so you know that it's like a back and forward,
Yeah.
or it's more permanent. How does it
Yeah,
work?
so normally how it works is you are temporary at anywhere in the world, basically where we have locations for at least 3 to 4 years. And then if you choose, you could probably request to stay longer at certain places depending on your situation. And I got lucky on my situation because I was able to stay in Germany, for example, because I really, really enjoyed and loved Germany. And I just don't think Germany gets, the right type of advertisement
Deserve,
like
yeah.
Barcelona or Paris or
Hmm.
Milan or Rome or something like this. So I decided to stay in Germany a little bit longer because I really, really loved it, and I was there for 7 years. And you know till they told me that I had to be forced to leave to go do another job somewhere else. And then I lived in Italy for 1 year, and that was like a temporary assignment along with
Hmm.
living in Turkey as well.
Cool. May I ask where in Germany? Now
Yeah, yeah.
you triggered my
Yeah, of
curiosity.
course. I lived in Frankfurt a majority of the time that I lived in Germany, and Heidelberg or
Nice. I lived in
Heidelberg.
Frankfurt for years. Yes,
Most people don't like Frankfurt, but I actually
I
liked
love
Frankfurt.
Frankfurt.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Frankfurt.
need to know the real Frankfurt to like Frankfurt. That's the
Exactly.
whole
I
thing.
lived I lived on the Sachsenhausen side. So, I
But not the
lived there.
party Sachsenhausen, I suppose.
Well, it was on the river, so I was not too far from the partying parts and stuff like that, which I didn't mind it at all. Honestly, I just love the food. I love the vibe.
Yeah.
Everybody drank, and I was like, "Oh, I can live with this." And the Christmas markets was like superb.
Ah, but also Sachsenhausen, the whole museum site of
Yes, that
of
was the other thing I
Sachsenhausen is
loved.
cool.
Yes, that was the other thing I loved. They have that museum, the week along of museum something.
Yes,
I forget what it's called,
museum
but
nights. Yeah, but that's
yes,
long
yes,
queues of.
exactly, because it's free.
It's free to go to museums, but no, in general, cultural events in Frankfurt are really, really cool. But yeah, also you have the river, like walking, grabbing a beer, sitting down when the weather is nice. I think it's super international. So I
Yeah.
agree. A lot of people,
Yes,
even Germans, hate Frankfurt, and I'm
because it's
guys
too
like you're
business for them,
never.
they say, and
Yeah, but business is Monday to Thursday normally in Frankfurt,
yes,
and then the guys who are in business, lawyers, bankers, disappear
mhm,
because they go back to wherever they are from
wherever
Germany,
they are. Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's a cool
I
life.
just, yeah,
I enjoy it also there.
I loved it, and matter of fact, I go and visit because I have a lot of friends from Germany and still in the American from America that live there, and I go back all the time to visit. And I could tell you, the only thing that I really had to focus on getting used to was Sundays, because when they
Yeah,
say everything is closed,
everything
I
is
s
closed.
yeah, I screwed up many times in not buying grocery prior to, and end up really, really hating life.
What about life in Luxembourg and Paris? In there, it was more like a more definitive move. You were moving due to work, but more corporate, more
Yes,
like in a contract assignment thing. How
it
was the
was
first impressions of arriving to? I mean, Luxembourg.
man.
It's
Yeah, I visited it before, but just for a day trip when I used to live in Germany. So I didn't really like I know reason why I went to visit it was because it was around military kind of event, because there's a huge military grave site for World War II vets
Mhm.
that's in Luxembourg City. And that was literally the only thing I went to visit. I didn't even see the city at the time. And I could tell you when I got there, and this time on the corporate side, as you mentioned, it was night and day to obviously leaving New York City. Like I did it was just weird because I was frustrated with my own country at the time because like I said, it was COVID happening. But I think what drew me to wanting to leave America at the time because it was just such a horrible time and a horrible environment, because this was around the time when I don't know, I'm sure you probably are familiar with a long case of George Floyd.
Mm.
who
Yeah.
unfortunately the whole world seen him die on TV. And, being a person of color, I was just fed up and I was just not happy. And like I said, this could have come at a better time for me where I was offered this to just leave and clear my head and stuff like this. So I didn't care that Luxembourg City was so small. I didn't care that it was COVID time. And when I got to Luxembourg, I remember it was empty because, curfews, the streets were empty. So I took kind of advantage of it by, going, taking photos, walking around and stuff like this,
Mm.
but nothing was open. It was literally like a ghost town. But I was fine with it. I honestly was. And I thought I was going to go crazy being from a major city like New York City. And now you're dropping me into a city that's less than 500,000 people. And
And with
I
a
thought
lot
I
of
was,
like, I suppose in COVID, I don't know, because Luxembourg leaves a lot of people like living outside of Luxembourg,
yes,
coming to the city to work and then going out again. During
absolutely.
COVID, this was not there. So
It
it
was
was
not
even
there.
more empty, I
It was
suppose.
extremely empty. But I thought I was going to lose my mind because of this, but I did it. I lie. I did for the first week. I was like, what did I just do to myself? Because I couldn't travel, everything was so restricted. And then I was like, you know what? I can make the best of this. I started to think of the positive. I started to say, well, at least I know the city is way safer than being in New York City. I know that I don't have to worry about a huge crime infestation in Luxembourg City, and I can literally feel comfortable walking on the streets, 2 o'clock in the morning without, you know, hearing gunshots like in New York City or something like this. So I was okay with it, and it grew on me.
Important.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I mean, you touched 2 points that I wanted to ask you, and I don't know
Yeah.
from which one to start. Like let's start with the easy one probably, but
Hmm.
probably Paris and New York are one of, if not the two most romanticized
Mm,
cities in the world in general. Like, how do you compare your current life of Paris and New York? Are they as
yeah.
similar as you were expecting? It's a complete different life, I assume. I don't know.
Obviously, I'm going to do it from an American perspective because, everyone knows Paris is literally the number one most visited city in the world. I don't understand why that is, but it is. Now, New York City, I'm a diehard New Yorker, and I think New York City is probably the best city in the world. I'm biased, you know, argue
Yeah,
that point with me if you
good,
want.
sure.
But I think the difference for me was even though they're both two major metropolitan cities, all the cliches that I grew up knowing about France, because again, Paris or France in general was never on my radar of a place to live, just to visit. And I end up coming here and I was just like thinking that it was just going to be so fake, and all this other stuff. And, because of what I hear on TV. And then, of course, the way how I wanted to get, functioning into Paris was I did the worst thing, which was I watched a series of Emily in Paris thinking this is how it's going to be. So that was literally how I learned how to get into the tradition of the Parisian life and stuff like this. And all my French colleagues were like, "Oh, this is the worst thing you could do." And typical of an American, I got all that. But yeah, I learned a little thing or two from Emily in Paris. I learned that, and then Paris is a beautiful city, and the tradition here is strong. And I've come to learn after 5 years that the culture, like most French people, don't classify Paris as like the French way, which is
Mhm.
interesting to me. Like they all say, "Oh, that's Paris. That's not really French." And I agree with them because when you're in Paris, there's a certain je ne sais quoi. There's a certain kind of arrogance and a
Mhm.
certain kind of like, who are you to talk to me? Or, that kind of
The
attitude.
Parisian
And
being, yeah.
yes, and God forbid I say pronounce words in French horrible, and they make sure they tell me that. But if I go to another city like Lyon or somewhere else, they're so nice and so like inviting and helping me out and stuff like this. And but do I think Paris is kind of like what I saw in the movies? Yes. I truly do. There are these nooks and these little small areas that are so much about the romance and
Mm.
there's just this invite that feeds off of that, and I do feel that sometimes, and I actually Paris has grown on me, I actually love it. Don't
Nice.
tell my New York friends that, but yeah, I actually love it.
You're planning to stay? That's big question.
It is a it's up in the air right now, and so far, the answer is yes, but we don't know what tomorrow is gonna bring, because I haven't been angry enough to say, "I'm leaving." But I have other places in mind that has really, really jumped to the top of the list of interesting me, and that is, Portugal and Spain. Like, I
Mhm.
really enjoy going to especially, Valencia, Spain. I really enjoyed going to a lot of these cities, and I mean, Lisbon is truly, like I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I really, really love that city a lot too as well, so who knows what will come of that and so on. But, I'm always traveling somewhere and I take full advantage of, traveling all over the place. Like I've already been to, 54 different countries already. Y- So I don't think I'm gonna get to all of the countries. Just keep
I mean, there is some of them that that's difficult to go
yeah, it's too
into.
dangerous.
And also, I mean, being American for certain countries might not be the best passport to go to.
Exactly. My point exactly, and I've been to, couple of countries that, it was not by choice, but I had to go because my job told me to go. Like I've been to Iraq, I've been to, certain places in the Middle East and stuff like this. So, yeah, I mean, but I could still check it off my list of places that I've lived in and stuff like this, whether we like it or not. So, but I do enjoy immersing myself into different cultures. I think that's what makes it easy for me when I do travel wherever I go and stuff like this too as well. So, and I keep doing it to take that positive energy.
Makes sense. There is big problem
Yeah.
though. It's that you keep adding places that you want to live in into the
Mhm.
list, and it's that I have
I
the same
know,
problem.
I
I'm just like,
know.
when they ask me
But
the
it's
question of
easy.
where do you want to live for the rest of it, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to respond to that. Like,
But here's something that so if you ask the question and say, where do I want to live for the rest of my life? If I had a choice and it was okay, I would definitely say I would live in New Zealand and the South
really?
Island of New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been to New Zealand and I really love this, like South Island, Christchurch, Queenstown. You tell me to live there and give me a bag of money, I'm fine. I would love life. I mean, it's just a phenomenal city, and if you haven't been or no one has been before, highly recommend it. It's such a gorgeous. I mean, there's more sheep than people. Why wouldn't you live there? So
Cool.
yeah,
You touched it a little bit, and at the end, unfortunately, because of Floyd. But I
yeah.
wanted to ask you also about the racial part of it. Like, you are a Black American living in Europe. Have you noticed any difference on how your identity is perceived compared to back home?
Yeah, no, 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 this is a great question, and I'd never shy away from answering this question because I have mixed feelings and emotions a lot of times, and I have to be honest and say it's embarrassing to say I do feel a little bit more comfortable outside of America when it comes to the racial issues and stuff like that. I feel like so for example, in America, it's in your face. Like they're not gonna shy away and tell you they hate you because of the color of your skin. Sometimes that's a good thing because you know who to be away from and where not to go. Whereas here, like I've been to places where I remember when I lived in Germany, I've been to, the former Eastern bloc of Germany, like Potsdam and Dresden and all these other places. And I remember telling my German friends and that I was walking back home from a club or something at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. And they're looking at me with popped out eyes saying, why would you do that? There's lots of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hateful people on the streets, you would have
Mm-hmm.
died. And I'm just like, not one person was on the street when I was walking. And I'm just like, okay, but you know, I seriously feel more comfortable in these areas now. That doesn't mean I do not have, or been, had a little
In
racial
these
issues.
situations,
Yeah,
okay.
situations and stuff like that. I've had that. And it was easier. I felt like it was easier for me to be able to defend myself in that sense and talking out, letting people know, hey, this is wrong or whatever it is. And then I found it a lot better that even my friends from overseas came to my rescue when something like this would take place. So being able to, live in a place where it doesn't like I honestly don't feel like people care of the color of my skin, but they also stereotype me and not thinking like they'll see me as a black man, they probably will think I'm just an immigrant and I'm here, trying to seek asylum and have no money.
Mm.
That like I've had someone come to me like that on the train thinking I'm taking their money. And I'm like, I work for one of the, most famous financial institute in the world. I think I'd be okay, and I'm paying French taxes and American taxes. I don't run away from things and stuff like this. So, stop with the stereotype,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have to say I do feel a little bit more comfortable here, but I do get upset when I hear, my fellow Europeans, especially here in France, that would say, I've had this a couple of times and it annoys the shit out of me where they say, there's no racism here. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
literally, I'm like,
My gosh.
you're
Yeah,
insane.
sure. If you're in, you are very uncommunicated if you're not seeing the rise of the right wings parties right now in whole Europe to
Well,
understand that
they
there
don't
is
they don't see
racism.
it well, I think the reason why they don't see it that way, and I try to like, explain it to them without not getting angry because I was angry, is I try to tell them, I'm like, look, you're not going to understand or see racism because you really don't know it because it's not being against you, the white person. So you're not going to
The
be
whole
looking for it.
privilege. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're not going to be looking for it. And then when I tell them, I'm like, yes, I experienced it like here and every other places I've gone. But at the same time, I remember when I went to Estonia. This was early 2000s and I was visiting and I never forget I went to the town square. I was literally the only black person.
So, yeah.
And I was like, people looked at me. There was this look, and that was the first time I felt really, really, really uncomfortable. But
I
nothing
see.
happened. And I just remember kids were like trying to touch my skin. And I was like, ew,
Yeah.
that's not cool. But
No, yeah.
they don't see it.
Well, anyway, thanks a lot for being
No.
transparent and being able,
eh,
because there is people who doesn't want to talk
Yeah.
about these topics, but I really appreciate it.
Of course. And I would challenge anyone to tell me I'm wrong because I've been damn near all over Europe and I really enjoy my doing this and as a person of color feel more comfortable at times, which is embarrassing to say.
You should be the people who are like saying these things. Now it's
Yes.
like when you some men say to a
Yeah.
woman, you cannot talk about I don't know, like masculism, and
Exactly.
it's like, guys, stop it. Like it's not your.
Yeah,
It's okay.
exactly.
Well, I would say we jump to the fast reply questions if it's okay for you.
Okay.
The idea of
Shoot.
this section is to give a little bit of a quick view
Hmm.
on your perspective and from your experience in Paris right now in France, with quick responses and first things that comes to your mind about different topics.
Just in Paris or just in
I
France.
would say let's
Okay.
focus into one.
Perfect.
I mean, if you want to do Luxembourg, I'm also open to, but
Okay.
let's
Yep.
choose one, whatever you prefer.
We'll say
Luxembourg,
France.
France? Okay.
Yep. We'll say France. For some
So,
reason, I get more,
I mean,
probably
I
jokes.
normally recommend to do the one that you are living right now because you have
Yep.
it more fresh also.
Yep.
So,
Let's do that.
cool. The first one that I have is cultural adjustment. That
Okay.
thing that took you a while to adapt in Paris, was very different at the very beginning from other places you lived in.
I would say the smoking. The
Everyone
French
smokes.
love smoking and they don't care if you don't smoke and you're in a cafe and you're outside. They will just literally, and you could be next to them and the smoke is just going wherever. And they look at you like, go inside, kind of thing. Like, They don't care.
Interesting. I mean, yes, I agree. What about social life? How do you meet people, make
Hmm.
friends in France?
That's hard because the French are very it's hard. That's the one answer, and the reason why is because, French people know people from probably birth, and that's their friend's thing.
Circle,
And
yeah.
because I know it's hard, I start off with neighbors, I try to at least, and colleagues that I work with, and then they will introduce me to people, but I'm never gonna be their friends until they're comfortable with me. I'm just a person to them, basically.
You're entering already built in circles of
Exactly, exactly. I'm sure it's like that in every European.
pretty much, yeah. The third one that I have, it's language. How are you doing with French? Are you learning? It's learning French a must in Paris?
Okay, yes and no. So, because Paris is very metropolitan, but the French will tell you they will automatically think you should be because I live here, they're like, "Oh, so you speak French." I'm like, "Just because I live here doesn't mean I'm like fluent French." It's a metropolitan city, but they don't care. I would say if you wanted to get by comfortably, at least know the proper phrases of things to get you by, to order things, to ask question or something like this. But ultimately, having the language and knowing it would be good. So yes and no for me.
What about the cost of living? I'm afraid of asking this one, but what is surprisingly cheap? What is surprisingly expensive? How much cost was it cost living
Yeah,
in?
I would say cheap because if I'm comparing it to America and to New York, majority or just in majority of places in America, like I'm enjoying my living and traveling in Europe because cost of living is way much more comfortable and cheaper here than majority of the states in America. And, my I live, in a pretty big apartment in near the Eiffel Tower. And, if I was to compare what that would be in the States, for example, in New York City, I would be paying $5,000 a month. And you can get a really decent place for less than $2,000 here. I know that's not cheap for the average French person, but again, I'm not French. I can relate to that, but at the same time, for me, if I had to compare it to where I'm from, this is way much more cheaper, even though Paris is considered expensive.
We touched it a little bit, but finding a home. How do you find apartments in Paris right now?
Lord, that I will never wanted to do without a French person. Thank God I had an agent. It's hard. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's hard because there's lots of rules, there's lots of whatever weird laws and stuff like that. At the time, I had to, in order to get a place, you have to have a bank, a French bank. In order to get a French bank, you need to have a French address. Well, if you just moved here, how am I supposed to do that? Yeah, it's like, and they
Infinite
won't
circle.
help you. The only thing we kept on getting was, oh, it's the law. It's the law. Well, the law is not talking to each other. So, thank goodness my agent at the time, I was able to use her as a reference in her address and I was able to get. And once that was done, I'm okay now.
Don't leave the flat though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I'll be okay now. If I was to move somewhere, I would be okay
I mean, you
because
have
I
an
have,
address. Okay,
yeah, I have an address and I have a bank.
cool. Next one that I have, it's living like a local. What is the thing that you would recommend someone if they want to blend in?
So I can do it from an American perspective. If you're an American and you're moving over to, let's say, to France, like,
Start smoking. I know.
well, I mean, yeah, one is the smoking part, but I would say, adjust your wardrobe, adjust how you dress. Because Americans sometimes I had to learn by observing how the French, especially the Parisians, like looking good just to go throw the trash away is important. Just to go around the corner, like in America, I would literally go in my pajamas or my sweatpants just to go buy some bakery or boulangerie or something. Here, no, it's you better dress like put some nice something decent on and go because people look at you really, really weird. You need to adjust your wardrobe for sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and accept the traditions. Like, don't go asking for things where you know it is not like America. Too many times I see tourists from America come in, for example, and ask for, you know, if they don't have like a certain drink, like they'll ask for
Mm.
a popular drink in the States, like Mountain Dew. And I'm like, you idiot. Nobody here knows what the hell that is. So,
Yeah,
and at least try to speak bonjour, bonsoir, the greetings of the day, because you will not go far without greeting somebody first.
nice. The next one it's work life. How would you describe the work culture in France?
I love the work culture in France. I love the holidays in France. If there's anything that I know French can do very well is take holidays. And the amount of holidays we get here is it's like of course that's man, I love it. Their work-life balance here is truly amazing because when they're off and when they're on holiday, they're on holiday. You will not hear someone open up their while on holiday to check an email. That's no. And I love it. And then it's the first time I've ever seen someone leave for the whole month of August. And I'm just like, wait, what? And like shops are closed and
Mm,
I'm like, well, how do you survive if you're leaving and not making any money? Like, I'm still blown away by this
yeah,
that a company could just close down and it's okay for a whole month.
sure. Why not? I mean, here in Italy, they close everything, like literally, like the
But how do
whole.
you
But
survive?
I
How do
don't
you pay
know.
your rent? How do you pay your employees?
Yeah, it's another culture.
Yes.
What about getting around? I mean, France, Paris is itself,
Very
like,
good. Very good. The transportation system here, I think is well, most places in Europe, the transportation system here in France is like top notch. Like I had a car, but I when I was in Luxembourg City and then I sold it and I have no car and I have no issues to get to wherever I needed to go from anywhere in France or to hop into another country by train. So it's so easy.
the next one is
Yeah.
healthcare. The system, is it easy to access? It's the quality, how does it work?
I have to give this another one a yes, and I'm comparing it again to well, I can compare it to other places. Well, just in general, the European healthcare system, because when coming from America, we are told, yes, this is social health, socialism health. You know, you can't do this. You know, this is bad. You're going to be waiting for months to get checked. That's so, and I truly want this to be heard. That's such a lie.
Mm,
Like, the whole fear that America puts into you that says, "Oh, social health is bad." No, I had a major shoulder operation about a year ago, and I just it took me 3 weeks. I got the operation I mean, I got the appointment, the operation. I mean, I had a private room, it was in a private hospital, and the most I paid was I think it was like 300 and something euros. But that same surgery in the States would have cost me
mm,
$55,000. And I mean, yes, do I pay a little bit more in tax when it comes to my money or something like that? Yes. But to have the peace of mind that I don't have to worry about the price tag,
mm.
it's a beauty. I love it. The healthcare system is it's top notch in my book. I felt like I was lied to as an American about the nervousness about, the healthcare system in Europe. So, I love it.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All in for social
Yeah,
security.
absolutely, man.
Next one might not be that beautiful, but bureaucracy and dealing with
Ooh la la,
paperwork,
oh la la, oh la
visas, permits.
la. This is the worst, and I think France is the worst when it comes to it out of anywhere in Europe. I am standing by this. The French, when it comes to paperwork and the bureaucracy, I thought it was the Germans, but nope, French. It is ill, and God forbid if you forget something or you made a mistake somewhere, start all over. It's insane, the bureaucracy. Like, it's just insane. I mean, I yeah, I can't say nothing about it. It sucks. That's I can't.
Cool. I have two more.
Yeah.
The first one, it's the best and the worst thing about living in Paris.
Best and worst thing living in Paris. The best, geez, I'll start with the worst thing living in Paris. The worst thing living in Paris is the French attitude, the Parisian attitude, excuse me. That's the worst because their arrogance kind of seep out. And I don't think they're mean. I just think it's just the style of being in Paris because it's the same in New York. You know, you're going to have this attitude or swag to it. But Parisians, if you don't like you have to know what you want and how nobody's going to really smile up to you. And they're very direct.
Mhm.
So that's the bad. The best is, I would say, the tradition, the culture, the architecture, like the beauty of Paris. It's such a beautiful city. And it's an old city, yes, but it's just beautiful. And the tradition is just something that I really, really enjoy. So I would have to say the best part is the tradition is the best part.
Nice. Cool. The last one, it's the top tip. If somebody is planning to move to Paris right now, what would be
Mm.
your advice?
If someone wants to move to Paris right now, I would say, like the Nike logo, just do it. It is really not scary. Think, you know, people will help you here. They're not mean. They're just, on the go all the time because, it's a large city. I would tell people if they wanted to move here to just at least learn the extreme basic to be able to get by and show that you're not being rude and trying to just speak another language immediately to a Parisian without trying to learn because you're going to live here. So at least be respectful in that sense. So that's what I would tell. The tip I would give is to read a little bit about how it is here in Paris. And then by all means, learn at least the basics in the language that is spoken at the country that you're living in.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for all the responses. I think the audience
Yeah.
will
I hope
really
it was
love this
okay.
one. It is perfect. I
Oh,
would
man.
suggest you to jump to the cultural mini game. This one is the part
Yeah.
that you don't know what I've prepared, but basically, I prepared a mini game. Let's say like this. It's
Yeah.
also a quick fire style. The
Uh
idea
huh.
here would be that I would give you a scenario, and then you can compare how that scenario would develop in New York compared to Paris. Taking advantage that is one, probably two of the biggest, most romanticized, but also
Yeah.
most advertised cities. I want to see if the scenarios are really what the films are showing off, or
If
I
it's
want
true
to
here in Paris versus New
exactly the
York,
whole stereotype.
let's go.
First scenario that I have, it's ordering coffee in the morning.
The stereotype or the scenario, ordering coffee in the morning is in New York, for example, New York City, it's like one in and one out. Like I don't got time for nothing else. Give me my coffee, let me go. Here's your money. Go. It's quick, 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 quick. I don't want to talk. I don't want to discuss. I don't want to do nothing. And I would say that it is true to form with the stereotype because ordering a coffee here in Paris is you sit in a cafe, you sit, you wait for the waiter to come by if they come by on time. And there's no worries. Who cares if it's like 10 minutes later? And you might hear a little French music in the background or something like this. And it's like, yeah,
Relax.
the stereotype stands on that one.
Nice. Scenario number two would be socializing with your neighbors.
There isn't any in Paris. There isn't. And I'm not joking. No one talks to anyone. I was lucky to be able to talk to my one out of my whole building. And it's a huge building of like 8 floors. I only know 2 neighbors and that's it. No one engage or talk. I think the most I talk to people is at the elevator where I say bonjour, bonjour, ça va, and that's it. Keep it short, move in. In America, in New York City, I knew all my neighbors and they knew me. So if I wasn't home, I would have that one because you always have one nosy neighbor will stop by and be like, "Oh, you weren't here, but I saw somebody came by and they didn't look very familiar. So it was kind of like a security blanket in New York versus there isn't any kind of knowing your neighbors at all. And that's maybe part of the tradition here in Paris.
The next one that I have, it's a public holiday. What do you do?
In France versus in New York, oh, sorry, in Paris versus New York, a lot. Actually, I think this one will be equal because if there's a public holiday in America, there's a lot to do.
Mm.
Most of the time you're just partying and you're drinking. Here, it's a public holiday and you literally go somewhere. Like you go to the countryside or you go to a different country because everything is so
Mhm.
close and stuff like that. And you literally are with your family or friends and you're enjoying. So I would say they're both equal in that sense.
I have two more. The next one
Yeah.
is attending a public event or festival.
Attending a public event in Paris or a festival. Actually, they're both the same. Actually, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
say they're both the same. So attending a public event or a festival, with a slight caveat. Attending a public event or festival here in Paris, people are having fun, people are enjoying and stuff like that. But I've noticed compared to in New York, you can go and drink and eat something or whatever like that while walking. In Paris, I noticed people stop and they're eating first and they're drinking first before they walk. I rarely see people walk and eat at the same time.
Okay.
That annoys me actually because I like to walk and eat. That kind of annoy me. It does. It truly annoys me because I love walking and eating. But no, they stand somewhere or by something and then they're eating it and then they're drinking and then they leave.
Mm.
Everything is about elegance and there's a there's too many rules, like even to eat. Well, it's always I see my friends eating with knife and a fork, French fries and a burger. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, there is limits. I agree.
Drives me nuts.
Cool. The last one that I have, I think there is a difference for sure. I've been in United States and I've had that also. So shopping for groceries.
La la. Well, you've been to the States, you know how big the grocery stores are in the States and
Yes.
stuff like that. Shopping for grocery in the States is an event because it's huge, long, whatever. It's expensive. And compared to shopping grocery stores, there is a difference, and the difference is that everyone here in Paris or in France in general don't shop for a month worth of food like in America. Here in Paris, it may be for a day or maybe 2 days worth of food and that's it. And I had to learn this very fast because you don't have a big refrigerator. So it took some time for me to understand that if you don't have it, you either go to a cafe or a brasserie or whatever, and you eat, and then you buy something light for coming back home with and stuff like this. So that I had to learn fast that, okay, this is not good. And the portions are not as big.
Yeah.
I am annoyed by that, but I got over it. You don't serve big portions here.
Yes. I mean, I remember the cakes in North
It's
Carolina. I remember these
huge.
enormous cakes full of
Yes.
colorants. Like there
Yes.
was no color that looked natural. And I was like, what's this? Like, who is eating this? And then it's like,
You're
people
absolutely
was
right.
grabbing 2 or 3 of them. And I was like, what the hell is going on right now here?
I would have probably been one of those that grab. And you're right. There's a problem with obviously we have all kinds of crazy ingredients that are unhealthy in America, and I do feel the difference here. Like eating here, I'm so healthy, meaning food intake wise. There's no like I don't feel bloated like I would in the States when I'm eating compared to anywhere in Europe, for that matter. When I go out and eat and stuff like that, and that's what I
Yes.
love. I love this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks a lot for all this comparison. I think I
Yeah.
really grasp like the differences, and I've been in both
I
places
love
and
it.
I know a little bit, but I think the audience also needs to see these differences and check it out.
Absolutely.
Maybe before we close the episode, I would love to hear a little bit more about projects that you're working on. I know you have a podcast, Rhythm and
Yes.
Rome. Can you
Yeah.
explain us a little bit what is the podcast about? Where can people connect with you?
Yeah,
Any other project
absolutely.
that you have on the table?
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate that. So as you already mentioned, I do have a podcast called Rhythm and Rome with two other co-hosts, Beneficia and Trisha. All three of us. What we talk about on our podcast called Rhythm and Rome is we talk about travel, culture, and all misconception and everything kind of in between. And all three of us are diehard travelers. You know, it's interesting our dynamic because we've known each other. Like I'm the middle connection to the two young ladies. Trisha, I knew from when I grew up in high school, and then Benefice, we were both in the military as an officer together in the military and stuff like this. And our love for travel, we thought would be such a great experience to not just talk only about travel tips and all this other stuff, but getting into it and immersing ourselves into the things that people really, really wanted to know about travel and even more. So we would love for, folks to check us out. And the best way to do that, you can go to our website, which is at www.rhythmandrome, which is spelled not like the city, but spelled ROAM.com. And you can see where, we have our podcast is on YouTube and all the listening devices or that you can do listening from Spotify and all those other stuff. And we did conjointly wrote a pocket guidebook. Here it is here. It's called I don't know if you can see it, but it's
Yeah.
called, a pocket guide, passport knuckle ride. And it's staying sane while traveling in a crazy world. And we just thought that there would be great opportunity to learn kind of the experiences that we've experienced on some of our travels, as well as there's an audio portion that you can do where some people have anxiety when they travel, and it's all about meditation and all this other stuff. Where my co-host Benefice actually did this meditation piece to it, and I think it's a very simple read. It's something that you could take with you because there's a lot of good guide that we introduce people to that they could use, and it's small enough to fit in your pocket where you can carry it along with you and read wherever you wanted to go to as well. And that you can get it on Amazon or any of the book areas that you fancy. So thank you for that.
Cool. No, I mean,
Yes.
listeners, as always, you know that the links of everything, the
Mhm.
podcast, guidebook, and everything will be in the description of the episode.
I
So
appreciate
if
that.
you don't find it out, go to the description and you will find the links there. Paul, this has been amazing. I mean, love hearing from
Yes, I
your
appreciate it.
journey. I knew about Paris, but I didn't know the whole journey in between. So I loved also to hear that whole
Yes.
traveler expat insightful things that you have in the mix. I really, really appreciate you having in the show today.
No, I appreciate that, and hopefully when I'm in Italy, maybe we can meet in person as well, and
Definitely.
you can show me some good stuff around too as well. So thank you for inviting me to give my take on my experiences and stuff like that too as well. This was really really fun. So I learned a couple of things or two as well.
Thanks, and definitely we will see each other in Italy.
Yes,
For all the listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to Expat Experts, leave a review, share it. Also, go and check Rhythm and Rome, subscribe to their channels, follow, give
thank you.
some love to them. Always nice that there is niche of travel and stories and people who traveling around the world.
Yep.
Listeners, I'm sure that will be interested on getting in there also. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and see you in the next episode of Expat Experts.